Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to this special Saturday edition of Focus on Liberia. My name is Dennis Jai, and we are broadcasting from Atlanta, Georgia. My guest is Mr. Alex Chuchu June. That's the co-founder of the Movement to Make Liberia Better. That's a pressure group. It's it's less than a year old, and Mr. Chuchu Jones have been making some statements about the political leader of the ANC and head of the CPP, that's the collaborating political parties. He's here to defend those statements and, if possible, give us more details about what he means and the raison d'etre or the rationale behind what he's been calling for. Mr. Jones, welcome to Focus on Liberia.
Yeah, thank you, Dennis, and thank you, Sonny, and I'm glad to be here once more.
We want to welcome all our viewers from across the globe. This is Focus on Liberia. Tonight, our topic is on the political leader of the ANC and the chairman of the collaborative political parties, Mr. Alexander Benedict Cummings. Mr. Alex Chuchu Jones has made some statements relating to his leadership in the ANC and the CPP. So we are glad to have Mr. Jones to elaborate on those statements and, if possible, give us any justification why he made those assertions. Mr. Jones, let me begin by saying welcome, or you are the leader or the co-founder and former executive director of the Movement to Make Liberia Better, a pressure group. Tell me a little bit about the group and what are you guys about before we even begin our show tonight.
Well, again, good evening or good afternoon, wherever you are in the world. It's a pleasure to be back here. The Movement to Make Liberia Better is a pressure group that was set up about 6 months ago to look for solutions to make the country better in terms of the social, the economic, and the political dispensation. So we've been working with Liberians from all different parties and all different backgrounds and walks of life, studying the situation, following up on the eventualities in Liberia. And we in a position at this time to make some, analysis. I'm speaking here today as a Liberian. I'm speaking as a writer, someone that deeply cares for the country. And I'm here to share my thoughts on what is going on with the coalition, opposition, and how perhaps it can reflect the kinds of change we're looking for in Liberia. So far, it's been a disappointment, according to Alexander Cummings and others. So the question here today is, how do we move forward, and what would be the right approach to take? So again, I'm very happy to join my fellow Liberians this evening to discuss these national issues.
Thank you, Mr. Jones. And as you heard him, the Movement to Make Liberia Better is a pressure group. It's been making some analysis. He's the co-founder. And one of the analysis that Mr. Jones has come up with is that Mr. Alexander B. Cummings is the problem in Liberia. Mr. Jones, I want us to first start with your opening statement regarding Mr. Alexander B. Cummings. You have made several statements concerning Mr. Cummings. And so as a form of opening, I just want you to let our listeners know your political assessment of Mr. Cummings and the ANC/CPP.
Well, thank you very much, Dennis. First, let me be very, very categorically clear. I'm not a politician. I'm a journalist. I'm a writer. I'm a thinker. I have a mind of my own, and I can analyze the situation for myself. There are many of us that play to the tutelage of quote unquote political and social godfathers in Liberia. There are many of us who do not think for ourselves. We have become almost like zombies in this whole political process and just following where the wind blows. Fortunately, I do not fit in that category. asked me about my comments about Mr. Cummings. I want to also clarify that I have made lots of comments over the years. Before Mr. Cummings entered the Liberian political scene, I have been writing and making comments and analysis. I have made comments towards President George Weah. I've made comments towards Ellen Johnson Sirleaf, former president, and many others. So this is not something new. This is not personal. This is not political. So let me be very, very clear on that point. However, I am aware at some of the some of the approach and tactics of the ANC that have a constant habit of when anyone intellectualize on what's going on with the ANC, they tend to take a very bitter approach. In my view, there are people who are now open to discussion, and that's their problem. But where I'm here today is to give my own assessment. I'm not here to say Mr. Cummings is not an accomplished individual. I think I've written extensively, and some of my writings will reflect my once admiration for Mr. Cummings and others, their personal success, whether in business or in other areas of life. The point of this discussion today is, do we have a formidable opposition in Liberia that is credible? Do we have a leader in Liberia that is credible, that is respectable, that hold the corrupt individuals accountable for their actions? Do we see Mr. Cummings as the moral voice in Liberia to speak on behalf of Liberians against the individuals who have destroyed and corrupted our country? And I would say the answer to that is categorically no. So Cummings,
Mr. Jones will go into the why. Thank you very much. We also want to say that the reason we decided to speak to Mr. Jones concerning his comments is Mr. Cummings is the leader of the political bloc, or the leading political parties in Liberia have formed a collaboration, and most Liberians that are on other side of the political discussion look at Mr. Cummings as the one who will deliver the much needed good for the country. And so for Mr. Jones to come out and make the statements he made, we thought it wise to give him an audience so that he can give more clarification. We are inviting all members of all political parties to please share the show, join the conversation. We'll have time to engage Mr. Jones and ask him some questions. And we want to also use this time to invite the leadership of the CPP/ANC to come and let's have a talk right here and focus on Liberia. Monday through Friday, we are open. We have made efforts to invite the ANC and CPP, but our efforts have not paid dividends. So tonight we're going to be listening to Mr. Jones. So Mr. Jones, continue about your opening statement, or why are you making those statements about Mr. Cummings?
Well, first and foremost, let's be very clear. What I'm saying today is not new. It's been echoed and reverberated in the circles of Liberia. The only difference is that I have the courage to come out and say publicly that perhaps it might help lead him in the right direction. I don't think this is a secret that the quote-unquote coalition party was a bad move by Mr. Cummings. It was an inept move. It was something that was not in the interest of the Liberian people and many of his own partisans and ordinary Liberians. So a lot of us already have come to that conclusion. We've already come to the conclusion that we have yet to see anything tangible from Mr. Cummings as a leader of the country. If you can recall, during the state of emergency, when Liberians were being beaten, left, right, and center, okay? When Liberians were being oppressed by military personnel, police and military personnel, Mr. Cummings was nowhere to be heard or found. And I don't think a leader that is supposed to lead the Liberian people during difficult times, when the Liberian people are looking and yearning for someone to speak for them against the government that Mr. Cummings wishes to change. When your leader is absent, that's to me a problem.
President Weah is the leader of the Liberian people, Mr. Jones.
Yes, but Mr. Cummings claimed to have been the leader for the ANC and the leader who was coming to make a difference.
Okay.
That's what he's claimed in his campaign slogans, to bring a different leadership. If I may quote him, saying we cannot keep doing the same things and expecting a different result. What are those same things when it comes to leadership in Liberia? That people go to Liberia and they join the corrupt bunch of people. Those are what has led us into our demise today, where almost everybody in government is there for their own personal gain and aggrandizement. Right. So as a Liberian with hopes of contributing to my country, hope of returning to my country, hope of seeing stability and economic growth, when Mr. Cummings emerged some 4 years ago, we all were happy that here was someone who at least did not bow to the business as usual politics in Liberia. But as we saw, and as many of us read in the papers in the 2017 elections, I think I sent you an article, which I will give some of the excerpts from that article. So this is not just me. This is just not just me saying. Another prominent Liberian, Winfred Russell, wrote an article piece on why Cummings lost the election. And
so Mr. Jones, I know we'll get deep into it, but from what I'm sensing is you are holding Mr. Cummings accountable more than you are holding the president. Is that what I'm hearing?
Well, because I'm not part of it. If I were to support the CDC government, or if I was a supporter of President Weah, all right, then of course, I will be much more expecting some kind of good leadership from President Weah. I was not one of those who voted for President Weah. Neither did I vote or support Ellen Johnson Sirleaf. So I do not expect President Weah, when most of these people today in America, and most of our intellectual community, most of our business community, entrepreneurial community, we have some hope that Alexander Cummings, based on his own utterances, that he was the leader that came for change. So that gave me and you and millions of Liberians some hope that we wanted accountable leadership, which he claimed he was bringing to Liberia, which he claims that he beholds. So what happens then when we see the contrary? Should we keep our mouths shut?
So you say, in essence, you have counted out the president. You're not looking for anything good in the leadership of the president. So you turn into Mr. Cummings and you don't find that. I want you to clarify, why is this emphasis not on President Weah instead of Mr. Cummings?
I think I've said this before. President Weah is a president of necessity. After Liberian intellectuals, Liberian political community failed miserably in Liberia, and Liberians were hopeless, and they had nobody to turn to, and no one could come to the rescue, they looked to President George Weah to lift the poor people out of poverty.
Okay.
So I do not expect George Weah, okay, of whom many call all kinds of names on a daily basis. Many claim that he's incompetent. Many claim that he doesn't understand the English language. Many claim that he's not a good president. So here is your good president you have in your potential good aspirant.
But what do you claim? What do you claim? You say many claim President Weah is dead. What do you claim?
Well, I expected much better from someone of that stature, someone who have gotten a fine education, someone who comes from the corporate world, that understands leadership, that understands organizational structure, that understands ethics. So I come from the corporate world myself. And so my expectation was not far-fetched that Alexander Cummings had the propensity to be different.
Okay, I got you. All right, so now let's go into the man Alexander Cummings. Before you make any assessment of the magnitude that you're doing, you must have followed this person, you must know them, if not personally, but to a certain level, because you've read about them, you follow their politics. So let's discuss Mr. Alexander Cummings before we even come to the reason why we are here. Let's look at Mr. Alexander Cummings. You already mentioned a corporate leader. And you said that's what gave you the hope. So talk to me about Mr. Alexander Cummings, the corporate leader.
Well, what I do know that from his biography that's been published, that he served as director of Coca-Cola in Nigeria and as the group at Africa's director, and as a CFO of Pittsburgh Corporation, which is a global food chain. As you know, Coca-Cola is in consumer business. They market and bottle soft drinks around the world. He elevated to as far as becoming the chief administrative officer at Coca-Cola and worked there for some 20 plus years. That's what I do know about Alexander Cummings. From what I've read, I've also listened to his interviews over the years. And like I said, I'm not here to say that Alexander Cummings is not any leader. I'm not here to say that he does not have what it takes to be perhaps a business leader, a CEO, or a leader in our community. Right. But what I'm saying, based on the record, right, based on going back from 2016 till today, his performance has been horrible in terms of leadership. And I'm going to take you through it step by step.
Yeah.
And a sound person can leave bias and think objectively, will come to some kind of conclusion that perhaps Alexander Cummings, this political leadership is not suited for him. So we need not pretend, we need not go and waste our time while Liberians are suffering, while Liberians look for leadership. I think the most prudent thing at this time is for the leadership to reconsider Alexander Cummings as a corporate leader. And I want to make this last point. Alexander Cummings is a corporate leader. He's been in corporation and he has seen many of his superior in terms of CEO come and go. Yeah. It's nothing new. Did that mean that those people who were formerly CEO of Coca-Cola that were changed or removed or retire, does that mean that they didn't make any contribution? No. It just means for that particular time and place, they were not the right individual for that particular role. Mm. As for someone who is an administrator, he should understand that if you keep doing the same thing and expecting a different result. So what has Alexander Cummings changed since 2016 till now? So also a different result in 2023.
You work in corporate America as well. And you were saying from his corporate credentials, that's why I gave you the hope. What in the corporate world that will tell you that this person can become a good leader? You have that experience. Walk me through that gave you the hope that Mr. Cummings will do better.
Well, I don't come just from the fact that he's a corporate leader. I come from the standpoint that he was not involved in Liberian politics, which could be a good or bad thing. That he was not he was not accused of any corruption in the past.
Mm-hmm.
So regardless whether or not he's a corporate executive or he's a corporate individual or even a school teacher, in my book, that individual should be given some consideration.
Okay.
So it's not personal. I do not hold the view that because you're a corporate leader, that means you're suitable to be president. I mean, we have Bloomberg. Michael Bloomberg was one of the most educated persons on the Democratic ticket. He has a fine academic background. He's one of the most successful business people in the world. He's one of the richest person in the world. He's built companies, and he was rejected. He was dismissed. And why? Because people saw patterns in his leadership over the years, and they made a choice that if you was leading a corporation that you did not respect women or you did not do anything to stop frisking, for example, in New York City, how can you now say that when you become president, you're going to fix those things? So I turn that question to Alexander Cummings. One of the problems, there's several problems in terms of his leadership. Mm-hmm. One, the people he's surrounded by, they lack the aptitude and they lack the skills to communicate and relate to the Liberian people. This is reported all in the news. It's in article. This is not Alex Jones saying that. Okay. In fact, there's an article that started the main reason why he lost. There's another article that Prince Johnson flunked ANC and Alexander Cummings, why he could not even win a single county in Liberia. And there was a lot of soul searching. So
you just mentioned that so let's come to the meat of it. Or you have this issue with Alexander Cummings, so you even went to the point of saying that he should resign.
Yes.
So tell me why. Let's list your reason from the top to bottom why you think Alexander Cummings is not doing a good job as head of ANC, CPP, and wanting him to resign.
Okay. So the first place I would start that Alexander Cummings, in all his wisdom, had very little to no leadership experience in Liberian community, in Liberian society. Most of his professional life was completely disconnected from Liberians. He never had any organization that was run by Liberians, whether that I know of. If somebody knows of an organization that Alexander Cummings has successfully run, please let me know. Right. He had no positions in Liberia, okay? And so to take a man who has had no leadership role in a community or in a nation and put him at the top of that nation is not good management. No one, take Coca-Cola for example. Coca-Cola is not going to take someone and make them CEO who've never ran a company like Coca-Cola, who have never worked in that industry to have any experience. Even if you have all the education in the world, they're going to take someone who have practical experience. And what kind of experience am I talking about? We have a lot of dysfunctional Liberian organizations. We have a lot of civil organizations in Liberia. We have educational organizations in Liberia. Cummings had no leadership position. And I can almost claim he did not even participate at any substantial level in any, but except for one example in Atlanta, when he decided to help out the community, and which was around the same time he had aspirations to run for office under the Cummings, Friends of Cummings. So that's one reason, lack of experience.
Yeah, before you continue, sorry to cut you off. I just want to make a little comment with when he worked on the head of the advisory board for LAMA, that's the Liberian Association in Metropolitan Atlanta. That's the time I was secretary of that organization. So I work with Mr. Cummings. What happened is we embarked, or the leadership embarked upon a community center. And Vice President Joseph Newman Boakai gave the first $10,000 for us to do that, but he wanted someone who he can trust. So he recommended Mr. Cummings, who was also a member of the community. I'm not sure he was current in meetings that time, but at that point, so he started working with Lama in that advisory role, especially for the community center. I sat in meetings with Mr. Cummings, discussing the community centers and doing all that. So in my view, I think his work with Lama, the Liberian Association of Metro Atlanta, should be counted as an experience working in a Liberian community organization. Who were you?
I won't consider that, because like you said, he was as a board member. He was not president of any Liberian organization, not even student council president. You know what I mean? There's the people who go to Universal Liberia, they've been active, they know the issues, they've been involved in the struggle. Cummings had no involvement in the struggle, like you said. He was brought in to help assist the organization. And at the same point in time, he had aspirations to run, because that was the same time that we heard the Friends of Cummings, the exploratory campaign.
That was after, to the best of my knowledge, that was after he was part of us. And then later on I heard that he was running. I don't know what was in his mind at the time. I just want to be honest with that.
According to Cummings' interview, he claimed that his intention was always to go back to Liberia and go into politics.
All right. Let's go into your second issue, your second reason. The first, you said no leadership experience.
My second reason, his performance in the Gowon election. Okay. Again, as a leader for people, you must be able to sit back and assess sometimes and so search as to why sometimes people are not resonating to you. Mr. Cummings did very horribly, despite spending an immense amount of money, which is also a disconnect and it shows his lack of understanding, according to the article I'm reading from Winfred Russell, that he hired people, and I will read a small portion of it. Some sleep-deprived campaign workers said they rolled their eyes and shook their heads in frustration and disbelief. So I asked, what was the ANC strategy? How did the party prepare for Prince Johnson factor? How was the process to select a vice candidate who didn't deliver Bond County? Joa Howard Taylor had the most significant impact for CDC due to MPP factors. And the article goes on and on. And it showed the frustration of people who, as I am today, or people who was a little hopeful.
Right. But Mr. Jones, you were hopeful from the beginning, right? You already said this man has no leadership experience in Liberian organization, Liberian community, or even in Liberia. Going into 2017, that was his that was who he was. So why were you hopeful if you claim that this is the reason why you think he's not doing well?
Okay, so
you already knew that he didn't. Yeah, you already knew this.
The first issue here, Liberia doesn't really need, so to speak, a president. Liberia needs leaders. Okay. A leader doesn't have to be a president. And I think this is some issue that Liberians face. So when I said that I look to Cummings as a source of hope, not necessarily to be the Liberian president.
Okay.
There have been a lot of change agents. In fact, most of the people who have changed nations around the world throughout history, who brought about Reformation, the Renaissance, they weren't leaders. They weren't political leaders. So Cummings is seen as a leader, whether or not a business leader in Liberia seen to be a leader for the people to seek their interests. All right, that's okay with me. So if he's not a political leader, that does not mean that he cannot play an intricate role in Liberia, change and development.
So when you were hopeful in 2017, you were not hopeful for Cummings becoming president. You were hopeful for Cummings being playing some leadership role. Is that what I'm hearing?
Yes, absolutely. Like any other Liberians. There are all the other Liberians who are not involved into the scoreboard in Liberia for loot and economic. So Cummings, his emergence into the Liberian politics, like you said, beginning at the Atlanta, getting involved. I was in Atlanta. I tried to get involved, and I've been involved in Liberian community for more than 10 years since I've been in America. Does that mean that I have to run for office? Does that mean that if I don't run for office, that means I'm not a leader or I'm not contributing? So my idea of Cummings was that here's a person that can add a lot of value to Liberia economy, to Liberia leadership, a gap, to Liberia's knowledge gap. So whatever the case is, does that mean that if he did have the aspiration to run, was that a problem? Absolutely not. He's a Liberian. He has a right to put his hat in the race. He has a right to get involved. So again, that's his choice, and he went that route. What I'm saying, when he decided to run as a candidate in 2016, the outcome, and based on the pundits and based on the newspaper articles, all concluded that Cummings did not resonate with the people. He did not have a message. He did not have a good structured staff. So again, those are all things that I would look back now and say, all right, this is supposed to be the guy who, have made billions of dollars for Coca-Cola and other corporations. You come to your own country. What do you bring for them? How do you impact their lives? How do you, what have you done in Nigeria, in Africa, in America? Wouldn't it be prudent for you to do some of that in your own country and lift your people up and give them some kinds of a means?
I mean, that's his choice, though, as to what he chooses to do.
That's his choice. It still is his choice to do whatever he wants to do. I'm just giving my analysis and telling you what I thought.
Let's go to point number 3. Why you think Cummings should resign?
Because he's lost the moral authority to hold people accountable who are questionable.
Why is that? This guy
because he's aligned with some of the most corrupt people in Liberia. He's aligned himself with the Uris and the Bwarkas, of whom he claimed. And if you can put it on the screen, in his own campaign message, that these were corrupt people. So how one day you can get up in the morning and say, Bwarka is corrupt, Uri is corrupt, Joshua is corrupt, and don't vote for these people. And then a couple of years later, you come back and stand with these same people and say, vote for these people. That does not come out as an honest and legitimate or serious person. What's the rationale behind campaigning one day and calling people corrupt, and the next day coming out and saying that this is the hope for Liberia? So that's number 3, that he's lost the moral, aptitude to run in Liberia. What Liberia is looking for. Liberia is not looking for a rich president. Liberia is not looking for an educated president. Liberia is not looking for an eloquent president. Liberia is looking for a moral and an upright leader. Someone who will stand up for what is right, and someone who will hold people accountable for their action.
Mr. Jones, you are finding him guilty by association, that he's associating with Uri, with Bwarka, and so he lost the moral grounds. I don't. You still not telling me that this is not a fine gentleman when it comes to integrity, when it comes to character, when it comes to morality. It's just because he's associating, he's in a collaborating partnership with Mr. Ure. Is that your reason?
And that is enough.
But how does that invalidate his moral stand on issue?
If I see you, Dennis Ja, right, one day preaching to me and telling me to not follow bad people, to not support bad people, and the next day I see you with the bad people, and not only are you with them, you are promoting the bad people. You're telling other people to vote for the bad people. So it's not just a question we're guilty of association. It's a question of joining. It's a question of promoting. What is he doing? He's campaigning for Samakai. He's campaigning, all right, for any Unity Party official in his capacity as CPP member. He's campaigning for Vani Shema, who is a Unity Party person who being accused of massive fraud and corruption. He's campaigning for our very legislators that the Liberian people are so sick and disgusted of. So that you cannot tell me it's just association. You are not promoting them.
Yeah, we say politics makes what easy bedfellows. So if I don't know what else can anybody do, you find out that the parties now that have some clout, that have some base, you count the Unity Party, you count the Liberty Party, and if Cummings wants to win, he has to join, at least collaborate. And time again, we have said no single party can win election, right? You have to join with other political parties. So
and how many political parties in Liberia?
Wouldn't the end justify the means? No, I mean, the other political parties are you don't even want to count them. Even my own
party. Then in that case, then he should not come and hold a high ground. He should accept the fact that he's just as corrupt as all the other people then. Because if you're promoting people who are corrupt, if you're aligning yourself with people who are corrupt, that's okay. But then don't come and say that we shouldn't do the same thing and expect a different result. Because when those people get into power and into the House of Representatives, money is going to be missing. They are going to embezzle. So that's my point. My point is, George Weah did not come and say, don't do the same thing that you've been doing. All right. So I cannot hold George Weah for saying something or proclaiming something that he did not proclaim. One of the reasons why Ellen Johnson Sirleaf took a lot of heat, because Ellen Johnson declared corruption state enemy number one. And she was ingratiated into corruption. That is hypocrisy. So if Cummings wants to run as an individual who is running on the same ticket as let's continue doing the same things that got us in Liberia where we are today, the poorest country, the most undeveloped country, the highest inflation rate, massive corruption, high poverty, extreme poverty, fine. Then let him sell himself like that. That is practical. That is understandable. Charles Taylor did not sell himself as an angel. Charles Taylor did not come and say, oh, I'm going to stop corruption. So what I'm saying that is disingenuous and misleading is what Cummings claimed, what he's still trying to promote. Why do you think that Cummings and the ANC has not been able to put forth a clear agenda for Liberian people? Why do you think so?
That's a charge. You were saying ANC doesn't have a clear agenda. Have you visited their website and see?
Yes, I visited the website and it has no detail on any of the policies that they're talking about. Everything is generality. The reason is, I can tell you, the reason is the biggest problem in Liberia right now is corruption. How would Cummings corruption? How can he run, all right, on a ticket in Liberia to stop corruption? When people who he's running with are indicted in the TRC report for corruption. When people who he's running with, Liberians know them as being people who are corrupt. So how will he come and say, and then again, how can he, even if he wins the election, how will he be able to improve living standard, to grow the economy, right? If you have massive corruption. And you're going to have massive corruption because the people in the collaborating parties. I mean, that it's clear that these people, some have been convicted, many have been accused, and for corruption in the millions of dollars, millions and tens of millions of dollars. Mm. So it puts Cummings now in a compromising situation, and it robs him of any kind of moral stand.
Mm. Let's go to point number 4. If any more, then we can go to our next.
We can keep going. Cummings, vice president, presidential candidate, Solonti, right?
Right.
Resigned earlier this year. And what was his reasoning for resigning? He claims.
No, before I let you go, you were talking about those that were indicted by the TRC, people that Cummings is palling with that are corrupt. I know of Benedict Europe from who else? Names and names here.
I would say many of the people who participated in the Unity Party, according to the TRC War and Economic Court, will be indicted because the War and Economic Court is part of the TRC recommendation. And it says that anyone who profited from any kinds of corruption in Liberia should be prosecuted. And that's part of the reason why Cummings himself has not promoted the TRC recommendation. Now into 2016 and not even up to today. And the TRC recommendation is the only document, I believe, and many sound Liberians believe, that is capable of holding people accountable and stopping corruption in Liberia. When people do not go with impunity. And many of the people, even including Boycott, could be charged in the War Economics Crimes Code for many of the corruption in the Ellen Johnson Sirleaf administration. Corruption doesn't really mean that you actually took the money, but if you are in leadership and you allow money, you can be charged for negligence, for instance.
Or acquiescence. Let me read 2 comments that are contrasting, right? And I will be interested in your response. Paul Hekpa Stem say, this guest is very smart. I'm enjoying his points. You like that one, right? But wait until I read the next one. Emmerich Benson Nicole Jr. Ellis Jones, you are totally confused and speak in prejudicial or prejudice, or trying to get prejudice, right? In prejudicial manner. Those are the 2 comments, 1 for, 1 against.
Well, I like both of them.
All right, so let's continue. You said VP Solonti when you were talking about why.
Solonti. And I'm going to try to read the article. I think I sent you that article. And Solonti claims that the party has not lived up to its promises. Mm-hmm. Now, here's a man that ran with you that Cummings, in fact, praised as being someone with good character, someone that stands up for the truth, someone that ran with you on a ticket. Can you imagine Joe Biden, coming out and saying that the Democratic Party or Barack Obama does not hold up to what the principles? Do you imagine how damaging that would be?
You should understand Solonti was mad.
Well, he has every reason to be mad. Why shouldn't he be mad? Well, I mean, give me one good reason. The party is in disarray. There's a lot of, and it will go step by step on other things. The ANC party, of course, there are dozens of allegations of incompetence, of complacency, of mismanagement, and even abuse. I had to write an article in defense of Emmanuel Savas based on attacks by members of the ANC and people like the same Emery, who are diehard people who claim that they want change in Liberia. But they only want the change to come from somebody else. They want to hold people accountable in Liberia. They want to hold everybody else accountable except for the people who in the party or the people who they like and admire. So that's our problem as young people in Liberia. We are very disingenuous about our country. So Cummings should not be held accountable for anything. If you have a fraudulent primaries and he's the chairman of the coalition party, somehow Cummings, Joseph Boakai gets blamed, Benedict gets blamed, even George Weah gets blamed for Cummings as far as Cummings. So how can you be a corporate leader over a process, okay? Because I can say I come from corporate background. If you owe a division, you own the problem. You own the success and you own the problem. So you carry on voter survey. The survey came out against your candidate. You agreed to go to a primary.
Right.
You went to the primary and conducted the primary, and then turn around and disagree with the very primary that you conducted. Does that make any sense? If you didn't want to have a primary as a leader of a party or leader of a company or wherever, you could have come out and say, you know what, I'm not going to have a primary. I'm going to select my candidates. When you guys was the head of the PPP, you could do CPP, you could do whatever you want to do. I'm in charge now. But you can't go and and go into a process, waste time, money, and today how many people were injured. Cummings himself has admitted to this publicly. He came out with several conflicting statements. First, he came out against the process. Then he came out embracing the result of the process. Now, does that look like someone, this is just a primary and this is just one county, and you have that kind of level of chaos and confusion. And you want to talk about George Weah incompetence and managing the whole entire country? What will Cummings do when you manage the whole country? If you can't manage a primary, you can't even manage your people in your group that goes after people needlessly for having a difference of views. You live in a democratic society. People go after Trump every day in America. How many White House staff have you seen individually going after somebody in America?
A lot. They do that a lot.
A private citizen or someone individually? No, they do not. They have better things to do. The Democratic Party. If you go and say, I don't think Kamala Harris and Joe Biden are going to win the election, and you read a paper tomorrow, you think Kamala Harris and Joe Biden will waste their time to go after you? In fact, they will read the.
I mean, there are some cyber bullies who will go after, some of the private diehards.
If you want to act if you want to act like a fool and you want to be, democracy should be for civilized, intelligent people who can convince other people of their ideas. You don't have to go and insult someone. If you're gonna go and start insulting people who disagree with Cummings or anybody else, then what does that show? Then you may as well just go join a Prophet Key and join part of the ignorant bunch. But you can't come and claim intelligence and claim corporate knowledge, and at the same time you're acting like some militant. So that's the reason. If your vice president, presidential candidate, can come out and repudiate, right, what the party stands for, that's a serious problem. And I just named. No experience, poor results, lack of management within the ANC, and in fact, the decision to join the CPP. Who came up with that dumb idea? And nobody got fired. And this is a corporate man. This is the man that's supposed to run the country. This is the man that's saying that George Weah is incompetent. But you go join an unpopular group of people that not only are they unpopular, they are also sabotaging your efforts, all right? Maligning your candidates and your leadership, undermining your leadership. That's the people Cummings choose to go and join. Now, what wisdom in that? Do you need a degree to not make those kind of decisions? Must you win elections so bad? Because I don't think that is going to cause you to win the election.
Mr. Jones, someone listening to you now say you sound more like a pro-government guy because Cummings is the hope of the people or the CPP because they don't think Judge Weah is doing any better. And now you are destroying that chance. You are criticizing Cummings so hard. So someone watching now and I've seen some comments say you sound like a sedition. What do you say to that?
Well, again, I would not even dignify that with a response. But that's the person's view. If the person wants to know what my views are, yeah, my views are very published. My views are everywhere in the comments. So I don't. Again, I'm not going to act like the comments people that anybody who disagrees with you go and fight. And that's the man's view, and I would defend his right to speak his views. And I will go back to what I want to say. Let me just make this one point here again. I will go back to
just before you conclude on that one point, because every Liberian has called for, we saw election after election that we're going into runoff. So the conventional wisdom there is Liberian political opposition, you have to join. We saw that in 2017. Before the election, you will see the CDC, the ANC, LP, and all of them, they joined, they had the NIMBA pact. They had an agreement in NIMBA, like, let's join together. So it only makes sense for the ANC to join other political parties to go against the incumbent. I mean, who in Liberia does not know that that's the only thing to do if you really want to have a serious shot against President Weah?
Well, it wouldn't make sense for the Democratic Party to join the American Rifles Association since if they really want money or they really want to win the election.
Don't bring it to America. America is different.
No, it makes sense. It makes much sense. If the Democratic Party today went out there and said, we're gonna support a assault rifle in America, they win Trump tomorrow morning. Easy. Because that's a lot of vote and that's a lot of money. But why wouldn't they do that? If they went out today, and if the Democratic Party or the Republican Party went out and said, okay, let's endorse the tobacco company. Let's go and say, you know what? The tobacco company can sell to any child or, on a 12 or wherever. Oh, they'll get money and they'll win a lot of vote. So some things you don't do because it's only about winning. Cummings did not come to Liberia and tell the Liberian people that his only intention was to win election. He came and said he came to make a difference, to do something differently, to stand as a high moral ground. All right, that's what he bragged about. So we have to hold him to those standards. And anybody who's, like I said, who has any kind of thinking, who likes him, they're gonna have to sit him and look in the eye and tell him that. And that's the problem. And let me just read this. In the same article, it says, Cummings High Command, and this is Winfred Russell. I hope you can share it because this is not my writing. And Winfred Russell is a distinguished Liberian. He's a councilman in Minnesota. This is his views. He says, Cummings High Commands, led by One Way, a senior strategist, Brennan Parker, confidant, Mona Fahad, social media a practitioner, and Lafayette Gold, party chair, knew that Kennedy had a long shot, but thought he would have at least one counted. And indeed, didn't think he would have come in after Johnson in the ranking. Some campaign field workers are depressed, but they are also angry, reeling through times they were not valued or downright insulted. It's all about Facebook with them. Talking about the top command, said a young campaign volunteer speaking of the ANC campaign team.
So Mr. Jones,
relying on social media presence and not enough on instincts and human intels from the ground. Many ANC operatives seem more confident on social media and lack the ground game and get out and vote strategy. Parties had an abundance of Facebook practitioners, but few, if any, seasoned political strategists.
So Mr. Jones, you agree with and we'll be opening our phone lines in a minute because what you're saying, Who do you know is in the Cummings orbit? Because you keep mentioning that there are people that he surrounded himself with, and who do you know in the Cummings orbit? And then I think Mr. Russell alluded to that. So let's talk about the Cummings orbit and how you
Yeah, but
think that is impacting his campaign or his leadership.
you just named them. Ty One-Way senior strategist, Benedict Parker, confident Muna Faha, social media practitioner, Lafayette Go, chairperson. That's Cummings team, and now I think pass away.
What do you make of them? I want to hear your view, not.
Well, these are not people that are into the Liberian community, are holding leadership position in any Liberian association or any Liberian undertaking. These were people that some of them I never heard their names, and I've been around Liberian political, social for many, many years. So when you bring these kinds of people, and no disrespect, anybody can have an opportunity. I'm not saying that you shouldn't give Ty One-Way an opportunity or you shouldn't give Muna Fahau an opportunity. But what I'm saying is, as a corporate person in a major election, you cannot bring people, all right, who are not real strategists, who are not proven, who don't have the experience, and make them your high command. And that's the point he's saying, and I agree with that point. So you need to bring seasoned people, and there are lots of people that are, they would, and part of the reason in the same article he said was that he more or less have loyalists calling their campaign, staff or fan base. And, he needed a professional staff, people who are not his fans or are not his fans, people who are professional that would make clear analysis and be able to tell him what his chances are before he even decided to run. Because I'm sure someone could have told him, you don't have a shot. If you would have called Wilfred Russell or, Dennis Jai, I'm sure you could have given him a better advice. And equally so, if you would have asked me or you or Wilfred Russell, if you would have asked any one of us, do you think it's a good idea to join the PPP in order to win election? We would have told him that no, that it didn't make any sense. But he relied on his people. He got there, and now he wants to blame other people. He wants to blame everybody but himself. And he's the leader. He needs to take responsibility.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, if you are just joining us, this is Focus on Liberia. We are in conversation with the co-founder of the Movement to Make Liberia Better, a pressure group, Mr. Alex Chuchu Jones. No, he likes for me to call him Chuchu Alex Jones. And he's, as someone would say in American English, he's dissing Cummings. Is that what you're doing? So we're going to open the phone lines. If you are listening and want to join the conversation, please do. Mr. Jones, what is the alternative now? We see Cummings resign today. Or what do you want Cummings to do with all the things that you have said about him?
This is the purpose I'm here. Again, I'm not someone who just come and criticize. I'm here to offer some kind of solution. If Cummings keeps going this way, Liberia and the whole political party, the CPP, should be prepared for another 6 years of George Weah. That is a clear cut. And anybody who can see from a distance, case in point, they could not even, you took 4 political parties and they couldn't even win a county, Grand Kidman County. What does that tell you? If the rationale, if the logic behind combining which meant that you're supposed to win because you bring in the vote of the Unity Party, the LP, and the ANC, right? If you went against George Weah, Kidman County, and still lost, it puts a hole in your theory. Mm-hmm. Correct? Correct me if I'm wrong.
But let me bring you. Your statement of bringing your color. Somebody here to.
That's what you said. That the logic was by joining, you win. So what happened in Kidman County then? So I disagree with that.
It's politics. You win or lose.
So I disagree, but I will tell you what my solutions would be for Cummings and hopefully the ANC and even the CP won't get back.
All right. We have a caller on the line. So let's bring in the caller before we get to your solution. Dr. Batam Kula. Dr. Batam Kula. Dr. Kula, you are live.
Good evening, Dennis and Alex. I'm listening to Alex point out all of the shortcomings of Alexander B. Cummings, his namesake. And indeed, what he said, most of what he said is true about Cummings. But my question to him is, to what end are you doing all of this? Because quite recently, I've seen Alex forwarding the videos of this young girl called Kona Hall or something like that. It's almost like she's one of the propagandists for George Weah. And so I'm not sure whether Alex is trying to get the attention of Weah or what is going on, but I would like to understand from Alex's point of view, what is it that he's trying to achieve by pointing out all of Cummings' shortcomings, but not focusing on the issue at hand, which is Liberia and all of the different things that are going on in the country with, the president and his boys and what they're doing, the corruption, the stealing, the killings that are going on, attacking of people that are protesting and so on and so forth. I don't know, to what end is this all about? I would like to know. That's what
you got a question. What were you after, especially when you are piling around with DJ Finance, who, according to Dr. Kula, is a propagandist of the CDC?
That's a good question, Dr. Kula. Thank you for the question. But if you can recall, I've written an article long before I even got to know this attractive and very brilliant lady, DJ Finance, about Cummings, lack of leadership. If you go back and Google, you see that I've been very consistent in my advocacy to make Liberia better. So it has nothing to do with my friendship, unlike many of our quote unquote advocates and politicians and pundits, where if they're close to you, then they say nice things about you if they, even if you're doing wrong. So no, my relationship is
but
never.
If we're trying to make Liberia better,
let me finish, Dr. Kula.
Shouldn't we be?
Yeah, go ahead.
No,
You
if
want
we're trying
to
to
say,
make
why are you
Liberia
not
better,
focusing on the ills of government?
Yeah, focus on the people that are messing things up right now. As it
yeah, we asked that
Cummings
question.
will probably never be president of Liberia.
Yeah.
I would address that, Dr. Kula. But the reason, first of all, let's be very clear. Like I said, unlike most Liberians that are compromised based on a relationship, I take my writings very seriously. I take my utterances very seriously. I do not go and discuss with anything that I say or write. As you know, I'm the editor of Global Freak, and one of the reasons why when I took that role was that I would never be told what to write. And the day I'm told what to write, I'm not going to write. The day I'm told what to say, I'm not going to speak. I can think for myself. I started this conversation. I'm a free thinker. And if you listen to my track, I hold everybody accountable. I hold the LBDI incompetent bank president in Liberia. I hold the legislators accountable. I hold George Weah accountable. I hold Samuel Tua accountable. Cummings has been the only person who I see that nobody holds accountable. And that's a problem. So if you guys, hold on, I hold Henry Costa accountable because he's an opposition leader. I hold Benedict you're accountable. So why, when it comes to Cummings, then we should play by a different rule? Okay. I see Liberians holding.
I don't think anybody's playing by a different rule.
Hold on, Dr. Kula, we want to bring in other colors.
I myself has talked about how Cummings isn't a real leader and some of the missteps that Cummings has made. But I'm trying to figure out, to what end we're focusing on a man that probably will never be president of Liberia? Cummings doesn't know the people. Cummings doesn't know the people. The people around him are, like you say, like they're doing the cheering squad thing. They're doing the all call personality thing and whatnot, instead of somebody like him having a real, professional team together. So we know all that. He probably will never be president. But right now, as Liberia stands, 4 people have been killed at the LRA. All right, with no head, no tail in it. We need to be dealing with the issues that are relevant right now. Cummings will probably never be president of Liberia. And let the ANC people get mad at me. Cummings will probably never be president of Liberia. He's not a leader. He doesn't know the people. He's not a politician.
Thank you, Dr. Kula.
Thank you, Dr.
Let me bring on Aliyu Kamara. Aliyu, you are live.
Yeah, thank you for having me, Dennis. I sent you a message the other day. I got it. But let me just say, I'm a fan of Alex.
Which Alex now?
Alex is one of them. Alex is a tough-talking guy who respectfully disagrees.
Aliyu.
But he speaks with such a... Yes, sir.
We're talking 2 Alexes here. Is it Alex Jones or Alex Cummings?
Alex coming my foot. Alex Jones.
Please stop. Okay, go ahead.
Okay. So Alex Jones is the guy who speaks actually nothing but the truth. He's not perfect, but he speaks the truth. One of Alexander Cummings' problems has been over the years since he joined the political arena. Unfortunately, or ironically, as a guy whom everybody claim, or people in his camp claim, that he's so smart, he's sophisticated, he was part of the Fortune, whatever company, and he's a CEO. But he is not smart enough to realize that his game plan has not worked, is not working, and it was time to reshuffle. His team, the pundits that he has recruited over the years, are people who cannot make any political mark or any political inroad. And so I think because of that, Alexander Cummings will waste his resources. If he is truly a smart man, like most of his people claim, I think Alexander Cummings should be working on creating some kind of a manufacturing plan. Or if he's somebody who is good in finances, Alexander Cummings should open a bank, establish some sort of a bank, and provide micro loans and try to help the economy so that people can see what he is capable of, as opposed to following what somebody designed on a computer and implemented as a CEO or whatever. So, but the only place where I kind of disagree with Alex is that he believed that Alexander Cummings could win election without merging into some kind of group. It's not possible. One, Alexander Cummings is just the same coin as George Weah. It's just that he's on the other side. I guarantee you, and the Liberian people are aware, if Alexander Cummings were to become president today, he'd be worse than George Weah. And it's not because it will be a fault of his own. It'll just be because he's too weak. He's too weak. He has to be pushed in order for him to make any moves, just like George Weah. The only difference between Alexander Cummings and George Weah is Alexander Cummings actually went to regular school. That's the difference between the two. They are the same people, different heights and different educational backgrounds, but same characteristics. Okay, in many respects, if you look at both of them. So I would look at Alexander Cummings.
Aliyu, let me hold you right there.
Yes, sir.
Can 2 of them dance zombie the same way?
You don't see Alexander Cummings that. Okay, you don't see Alexander Cummings that dropped his suit and tie. Now he's doing the Zogo and all the foolishness. That tells you how desperate. The deceit. If you want, let people take you for who you are. If Liberians don't want you, all right, then they don't deserve you. But if you gotta be changing and trying to be what you're not, so Liberian people can praise you, and Liberian people, you're wasting your time. That's why when I come on or when I write, I speak my mind. I'm not gonna change or cater to because Dennis Ja gonna feel, no. And that's the problem that Alexander Cummings, that's not a true sign of leadership. A leadership, you should be strong, you should be consistent, and you should be unwavering. You don't go and say, you're going to open a militant group because you see CDC open a militant group, and you got the young people in Liberia. You go on the website, the ANC Global website, they're sitting there with red. You'll soon be wearing berets and all that kind of stuff. That's foolishness. When a country that you're trying to demilitarize, you should be getting people to at least dress up like they are going to a business meeting so that Liberia can get on the track of places like Vietnam and India and open call centers in Liberia for young people and open small microfinances and let people be able to do something productive. That should be your so-called group. That should be the kind of people you should be talking to, not going dancing and doing all that kind of foolishness.
Ali, hold on. Let me bring on Richard Clinton. He's been falling off and on. Richie, quickly to the issue.
Yes, Mr. Jai, it's Richard Clinton. I'm calling from Australia. How are you?
Yeah, go ahead, Richard. I know you're calling long distance, so you've been saving your minutes. Go ahead.
Yeah, good. I just want to thank Mr. Jones for his analysis. And the thing is, I like people like that. I'm a supporter of the government, but I like to listen to him. He's very objective. He criticized the government. He criticized the opposition, and I think and some of the almost all the things he says is true. If Cummings want to win, the Unity Party is just using Cummings to get to power, and we will see it come 2023. The Unity Party will push old man Blacker over Cummings. We'll see it. What happened to Nimba Kante? Taiwan left, right?
Yeah.
He managed the primary. Mr. Cummings, Taiwan left. He's now running as independent. If he wins, is he going to go join the ANC back again? You can't criticize the government and you do the same thing. We have to be fair. Thank you.
Thank you. Let me bring on Mr. Okay, no, this number 301-569-6361. Your name and where you calling from?
Hey, Dennis. This is Emmerich calling from Maryland.
Mr. Nicole, welcome to FOL. Question or comment?
Yeah, thank you so much.
Can't give them some bitter.
It's just, we have to understand, first of all, the political dynamics of our country. All right, I'm listening to Alex saying all of those things, and now he's accusing members of ANC for, standing up for what they believe in, and at the same time, whatsoever he stands, for what he believes in, I see him the same, thing, going after people that, have this passion, this conviction about candidate. He's seeing it in the wrong way, all right? And I'm seeing it in a different way. I'm not saying he's not entitled to his viewpoints, but this is debatable. When something is debatable, people come up with their points.
Yeah.
And a societal issue cannot be attributed to one group of people. You can't say what's happening in Liberia. You're talking about the bearers, the this and that, the militancy, and so it's the product of the society. So if you think you're not in ANC to know their game plan, to know whether they are working on structures and those things. You're not there to just conclude. You can't just conclude and say, "Oh, ANC is the same as this and that." I want to remind him. He brought up this whole issue about forming a group of people, and one question I always ask: who are you going to recruit? Who are those going to be a member of a group that will not be associated with the everyday life in Liberia? And so it's almost impossible because we are part of our society.
Let me answer that question right here.
Hold on, let him land, then you come.
But
let me ask
I'm speaking.
Alex,
I'm speaking.
Yes, hold on. Emma been waiting for you, so let him land.
Right, and this is simple. The society right now we are in, we have to first of all look at the society. What are the products of the society? So you believe that Liberia is going to change, or even Cummings just going to change Liberia by excluding, and you don't understand the infringement of the rights of other people to to exclude and discount certain group of people because you think you want to model this, this utopia viewpoint or structure that is non-existent in Liberia. It's impossible. My point, this is simple. You can still come in and deal with everybody, but you just put checkpoints, you put controls in that will be able to stop people from corruption, from, those bad behaviors and practices. That's how I see it, and I believe it's the same way Mr. Cummings sees it. I don't think there's a problem with you having your viewpoints about him. I don't think people come after you because they worship Cummings. That's not the point. And let's stop misconstruing the conviction of other people, because when you start to do those things too, then the same thing you accuse them of is the same thing you are doing. And, it's hard. So my point there, Alex, who are those to recruit? Who are those that going to bring the sanity in Liberia? Who are those that in every way not going to be an association of anything bad in Liberia that's going to be presented as, the saints of Liberia that can lay Liberia on the right path? And so who are those? Let us start to hear names. Let us start to know how we can move forward. Let us start to know, because a lot going on in the country. I don't hear you lay emphasis on the deaths of people that are dying every day at the hands of this government. I don't hear those are that Dr. Kula just said. It should be our focus right now. It should be our focus, the governance of the state right now, to make sure that things are done correctly. It should be our focus right now.
Thank you.
I give you, the opportunity.
Yeah,
Thank you.
I'm going to stay on because I want you to rebut if I'm incorrect. You asked me who are those people we should bring. Alex Jones, Dennis Jam, Emery Nicole, Sear, Anthony Sear, people like that. The Nobel Prize winners. Why Cummings can't reach out to these people if he was someone who had the influence? Why aren't these people on his side? You don't have to reach out to the Vani Sherman and the Summerkai and the Boycott. There are lots of Liberian good people around the world. So if in 4 years' time, Cummings can't recruit any of us, then don't you think the problem is his inability to sell
There's a question too that I can turn around. This is a question too.
The question
if you know all of those things.
So answer that
okay. You gotta have a question,
No, but you want to answer the question with a question. So answer that question. In 4 years' time.
No, it's simple. If you know all of those things, those are people impeccable character, and so my point to why can't you reach out? Because I didn't wait for Cummings to reach out to me. I'm not going to wait for anyone to reach out to me for the better good of my country. When I see certain things valuable in people, it's my patriotic duty to support. And that's the reason why I support. I don't support because I'm waiting for someone to reach out to me.
No, I'm not. I don't even know Cummings' number.
Thank you.
How am I going to reach out to him? Cummings doesn't have a number.
Thank you.
Yeah. We got many callers and we've already gone over an hour. So let me take the callers quickly and then you can respond.
Okay.
Let me get don't go away because that a bit about from Alex from Emmerich making you to go. And Emmerich, if you're still there, we have let me get Joe Moyo.
Yes, sir, Mr. John, Mr. Jones. Interesting topic. But I think Mr. Jones is confusing me. And some of the other callers also confusing me. I think what they're trying to do, they're looking for somebody with dictatorial tendencies. But that's not Mr. Collins. Mr. Collins is grounded in corporate America, where you delegate responsibility, you delegate authority. That's how you do it. He's not your garden variety Liberian politician. He's a problem solver. He's a fixer. That's what he does best. That's why he thrives in corporate America at Coca-Cola. And I see Mr. Jones try to play a trick, trying to diminish his position, saying that he was a director. No, Mr. Jones, he was a senior VP of a multi-billion-dollar company. He was not a director. And because of the moves he made in Africa, he extended the market share of Coca-Cola, made it a multi-billion-dollar entity. And I see somebody trying to compare him with George Weah. They have no comparison. They are human beings, they breed, and that's it. He has no comparison with George Weah. Don't do that. Please.
Okay.
He has proven his worth in corporate America. He has people working on it. He's making millions of dollars a year. So don't try to belittle him. You know, if you don't like him, that's why I don't like him. He's quiet. I don't like that. No, but he made his mark in corporate America. He's something like you, Mr. Jones. You into finance. You know what private equity is. Where you go into a company, you see it broken, and they bring a private equity guy to fix it. That's what Mr. Cummings is. And that's why we need somebody like him to fix a broken country. Not somebody that's a garden variety a Liberian politician, as we're looking forward to. Or not somebody that's a dictator. Somebody that will be able to, bring people on board that he can delegate authority to, responsibility to. So let's get that straight, okay? And that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you. And we always want to give any of you the same opportunity Alex has here to go against or talk about Cummings. Any of you, you're welcome to come and defend Cummings or even debate with Alex if possible.
All right.
So,
yeah, I'm ready anytime.
All right.
I don't think the last call.
Let's talk offline. Go ahead, Mr. Jones.
I don't think he honestly, because I think I gave Cummings all the credence as an executive, someone who has made billions of dollars for shareholders in America. He's lifted their income and everywhere. What I'm saying, he hasn't done it for his own freaking country. And he was not president of America or senator or mayor of America when he done those things. So why can't he do it for his own country in the same capacity? That's one point I made. That doesn't diminish him. And I never said he was a director because I read his profile. He was the executive vice president and the chief administrative officer for Coca-Cola. Okay. Back to Emory, like I said, these are people who I can feel their antipathy for, anything that is anti-Cummings. They love the man. Just the way George Weah, people love him. So, in other words, they can't think rationally. If you ask them, well, one thing that Cummings did not do or is Cummings is failing, they couldn't tell you because they don't even think of that. As far as they're concerned, nothing. Here's a man who just, I'm reading the convention. He says, the alternative Liberia deserve. That was the slogan on May 4th, 2019. The ANC, alternative Liberia deserve. And he rails about the change. At one point, he even said, if you follow me and think we're going to be corrupt, then I'm the wrong person. So what are you saying to, the US then? So you're contradicting yourself. These people are contradicting themselves. But let me go into, what they can do or what I think the main reason I'm here. I'm not just here because I think it's a both case right now as far as what Cummings' future is in terms of.
I want to bring in a few more colors before you go. But who does a Cummings resignation benefit? If Cummings resigned today, President Weah and the CDC benefits.
Because that was the point I was here for. I was going to lay out what can be done and how this would benefit.
All right, let me get a few colors, then we can come to that.
Perhaps stop the killings in Liberia, which Emory, but prematurely, we're all having organize yourself. You're 14 in my country throwing stone. So how can you then advocate for people in Monrovia who getting killed when the violence is right in your household? Put a fire order for your house first before you start talking about George Weah house.
All right. Let me bring you a caller from the Twin Cities, 2368. Your name?
Yeah. My name is Alfred Cowboy, and I follow. Hello.
Yeah, Alfred, you welcome to FOL. Go ahead.
Thank you. Once again, I said my name is Alfred Cowboy, and I follow usually the FOL, and also I got interested in listening to
Alex over there in studio when he sat with couple of educators to discuss about the economy, what is going on, and his analysis and things that he brought up on board. I thought those things were something that I wish even the government could see reason to think such brilliant idea from our fellow Liberians. But with that being said, I just got a few. I think I understand his major point. We all talk about corruption. George Weah, before he became president, the CDC, when Madame Salih was in power, cried all the time that she was corrupt, she was corrupt, she was corrupt. Now, CDC took power, and now the same thing is being said over and over that she is corrupt too. So Alex is only bringing a point to a couple of the guys who just were trying, probably didn't understand what this guy is actually trying to get to. How can we say that we want to fight? We are saying that this government is corrupt, but then we want to go into government and we liaise with all the worst criminals you can think about around us. You will never be able to prosecute those kind of people because why? You have rubbed your hands in the cookies jar. For example, let's look at Sierra Leone. The fellow who is the current president of Sierra Leone went to election and won the election on his own merit. The reason why George Weah cannot prosecute Madame Salih and all those other criminals, past criminals, is because he had to liaise with Madame Salih, wherein he could have won that election by himself. So because he did that, he's not able to go after the woman. So we need this kind of movement that Alex has brought, that he has organized, to be able to look for Liberians who minds I think to be able to go to Liberia, not to be able to do stuff better as it is right now. The same way George Weah is weak is the same way Alexander Cummings is very. One guy George Weah appointed for to collect those guys, those corrupt leaders. I just forgot his name. He was in America here. He was on your show, Dennis. He said one thing. He said the reason why he resigned is because he said the government does not have the political will. They don't have the political will to fight corruption. So you bring Cummings. If you bring Cummings on board,
let's wrap it up.
Look at the guy.
More people.
Oh yeah. No, so in short, I'm just trying to say that our brothers that love Cummings the same way George Weah supported love him should be able to analyze and learn, because this guy Alex, what he is saying, he's pointing out problems and providing solutions that Liberian mind must be changed in order to develop Liberia. Thank you, brother.
Thank you. Okay, let me bring in Jimmy Ismail. He's been waiting for over 15 minutes now. Jimmy, quickly, this time we are assigning only 1 minute because Alex needs to get to the bottom line, that is solution. We don't just want all talk, we want solutions. Go ahead.
Okay. Hey, yes, interesting conversation tonight. For what I look at is, have we really examined the political arena in Liberia? You know, you can come up and have all kinds of fixes on paper, but to implement them is where the rubber meets the road. I think, even knowing Cummings very well, he needed to learn a little about Liberian politics. In other words, he needed to have a solid foundation. And like one other caller said, I would have thought it would be best if he established an economic might or an economic ground in there where he was employing people. People could see his productivity. People could see the benefits he was bringing. I think he would have been a more formidable candidate had he already established that. But instead, ANC had a vacancy, and he was in a very eager position to start his political career. But I think there had to be to gain traction. I think he had to ground himself with Liberian people, let them know his abilities, economically, financially, and politically before attempting. So right now, it appears he's looked as weak, only because he's riding a wave and not his own solid foundation. So my thing is, know the people who you're dealing with. Let the people know your value, not abroad, but locally. Establish yourself locally as an economic force to deal with. Then you will be prime candidate to run. I think President Weah did similar. They knew he had some clout on the ground, and the grassroots movement. He represented that group coming from nowhere, and so they knew him at that level. And I think that's what weakened Cummings' campaign. They didn't know him on a local level, so he didn't gain enough traction.
Thank you. If this is so interesting, we can continue here, guys. But let me take Mr. Amos George. He will be our last caller for the night. Mr. Amos George is right here from Atlanta, Georgia. Mr. George, we all work with Lama, and Mr. Cummings was there. We need your input here.
How you doing, Dennis, and to Mr. Jones?
Oh, yes, sir.
I have my first comment. Yes, my first comment is to the VP, former VP of the ANC, Shirande. You spoke about Shirande saying that he left the party because the party had returned from the value. But during the 2017 election, when Mr. Cummings refused to endorse any of the parties, Shirande went and endorsed the CDC. When he endorsed CDC when they went for the final round. So don't you think that speaks about Sudan's credibility within the party? Second, all started within Liberia have come to the point that not a single political party can win any election in Liberia. Even you can, let me refer you to 2007 with the popularity of George Weah. He wasn't able to get 45% of the vote. He had to go into collaboration with other political parties. So my question to you, in that case in Liberia, if you are there running a political institution, will your party stand alone to win an election in Liberia? Would that study done? And third, Mr. Cummings just worked in the bank, I think Ruby Bank, the first time he returned from to Liberia. So check that record. So to say that he had never worked in any institution in Liberia, I think a little overstated. He did that before, so the records are there. So I just wanted to, because time fast spent, but those are a few questions and I wanted to make to you. So maybe you can comment on them.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you. And let me just public knowledge. Mr. George is also from Bond County, where Mr. Solonte comes from, so you should know a little more. And he worked with Lama. He worked with the Elections Commission, and they conducted free, fair, and transparent election. Just a little bit, Mr. George. If you are trying to hide yourself, I just put it out there.
For disclosure. No, I'm not trying to hide myself.
No, that's just a joke.
And the only reason
I thought you finished.
The ANC. No, but you the only reason that Sudan left the party when he figured that the ANC could not carry Bond candidate this time for him to run a single Bond candidate. And that was the reason he left the party for. So, Mr. Jones, those are some information I'm just giving you. You can comment on it. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. And Mr. Jones, before you come on, let me bring in a comment from my friend Yankwe Bowman. He made a lot of comments. Let me read this one. I wish Alex Jones knows what he's talking about. Continue Bob Muffin Cummings. We know your game. We know our game better than you. And that's what he said. He also said, there was a one, Ellis already thinks he's a qualified advisor to Mr. Cummings. But what has Ellis brought to Liberia to qualify him as an advisor? So you got it, some bitter balls there from my man Bowman.
Well, I don't think Cummings needs my advice. Cummings has a lot of advisors, and I'm sure they lead him off the path. They led him to defeat in Kidman County, chaos and confusion in Nima County, and they're going to lead to even more defeat. So he doesn't need my advice. They know it all. And like Pastor always said, we are fine. We're just fine. We do well. We got tailwind, right? So again, it's hubris. First of all, what I find among them is that they're very arrogant. Again, not even me. You read the same article I sent you with Winfred Russell.
Yeah.
So they're arrogant.
Yeah, but Alex, you're talking about 4 million plus people, and you are picking 2 articles as if this is
the leadership of Cummings. I'm talking about the people who are on his campaign, the people who led him down this path. Remember when they came up with some framework and where they said that they were going to allocate jobs? You know, Cummings is very dishonest. Let's be serious here, because Liberian lives are at stake, and I'm going to be very serious here. This man came out and put forth a document and said that they have been working on this document. He's a corporate man. I'm sure he has lawyers. They review it. When people look at the document and saw that the document was even unconstitutional, even somebody like what his name, Martin Colley, had a show about it and said it was trash. They should take it back. That's the man that's supposed to be signing our international agreement. That's the man that's supposed to be negotiating with Metal Steel. A simple agreement between Buckeye and Europe. And you can't even make it constitutional. You're saying that you allocate jobs based on people in your political party. Then when the Liberian people heard of it, instead of coming and apologizing as a man and saying, listen, we made some mistake. I'm sorry. Cummings never apologizes. He turned that thing around and said, you know what, there was some draft. That was not the correct draft. They were coming back with a correct draft. Is that the kind of dishonest person you want? You're not president here, you just a simple paper. What's wrong with coming on and saying, I'm sorry, we made a mistake. We wronged you guys. And so those are the things that I see in people like Cummings and Ellen. I see those kinds of patterns. Then he comes on recently on T-Mac show, and they said now after several months now, they think some of us don't read, we not forget about the agreement that with the working group, the framework. So the same Mariah, this other lawyer that he claimed is assistant or whoever with Taylor Ure. Who wants to see Taylor Ure on any kind of serious conversation? God, I mean, for God's sake, tell me, who's making this stupid decision? Do you think Taylor Ure is popular? Taylor Ure can't even win a freaking district in Monrovia against George Weah people that the woman you sent to go represent, the man who's supposed to come and say, we are the alternative. These people need to be serious. Emory needs to be serious. They need to hire professional people. Cummings is a professional man. If he wants to run a party or a movement, let him go and hire people who understand. They did not come up with a correct document up to this present. And when they asked him on T-Bar show, he said, oh, that was, we didn't mean it like that article, this thing, and turn it around. And that's where people see the dishonesty. They see you doing the same thing, these politicians, Ellen, the same thing. So,
Alex, one question that keeps coming is why are we not talking about the deaths? I know our 3 o'clock show was all about the death, but they're saying, why are you focusing on Cummings? It's not really important as the people that are dying or the lapses of the current government.
I'm here for, but they won't even let me point out the reason why I think that Cummings should resign and how that will help the opposition as a whole. I'm the opposition. Anybody who's not in the government is an opposition. Anybody who does not support George Weah is an opposition. Okay? Whether you're part of a political party or you're not part of it, if I have to be with George Weah, I will be with George Weah. I don't have to come here and say, I'm not. What's the thing? And I disagree with the people who say they know Liberian politics, because these are the same people that comes and says, oh, they know Liberian politics. If they knew Liberian politics all this time, Some of them read the Liberian Constitution that says that if you get a U.S. citizenship, you fulfill your rights to run for office. That these are what smart people now, the politicians. You come and you get an American citizen. Then what you want to do now? You want to go back now and change the Constitution so it fits you. You didn't read the Constitution before you change your status? So there's our clever political analysts. So they go and they make this decision. They join the political party. They put up trash coordinate document and saying that that's a framework. You got Benedict, they're all on Cummings. Like, he doesn't even take Cummings seriously. These people were completely done on Liberian politics. Liberian people didn't have no time for them. They Benedict, the boycotts. All right. Cummings was the guy. In Liberian politics, all you need to be is two people going to go to the second round. Only two people go to the second round. You don't need to collaborate with anybody doing the first round. All you have to do is to win the other parties. When you when you go to the second round, then the other people will usually join you. That's when people join you. When George Weah formed his collaboration, it was mostly in the second round because everybody is going to run in the first round. So that for your smart, educated people, you did not need to join the coalition.
No, Mr. The CDC, the Coalition for Democratic Change, was formed before the election.
Okay. Yeah, but what I'm saying here is, even if it wasn't formed, okay, even if it wasn't formed, George Weah margin was still going to be all boycott. Even if it's by 1 point, he was still qualified to go to the second round.
Let's go to your solutions.
Okay, so that's one solution that like I said earlier, Liberians are looking for leaders. They're not looking for politicians. If you come in Liberia right now and you think that you can be a politician, we're seeing Amos Sawyer, right? We're seeing all these people that come and go. They banish Shemon there, and we put all of them in one basket. They are corrupt people. They're Benedict Uris. Liberia is looking for serious, moral people who are going to stand up for what is right. That's what the people at Tewan Gongolo, those are the kinds of people that people take seriously because they're like, okay, these are people who can make a difference. They're not going to compromise. So if Cummings serious, right, it needs to, like we said, leave the politics, focus on the business, focus on building the young people's lives, focus on the banks. The main point I'm here tonight is, I've specialized in banking. Liberia banking sector is a disgrace. We have about 9 banks in Liberia. Every last one of them, except for 2, the LBDI and the International Bank, all are controlled, run by Nigerians, Ghanaians, Germans, everybody else. These banks, if you check on the board of directors, I'm doing a whole expose on the Liberian banking sector. You'll find the same weeks there. You'll find the same Eugene Shamo on the UPA bank, and that's how they're making the money on the back end. They go into government, they steal from the people, and then they go quietly and go sit on one of these banks' board, and they bring these foreign banks into Liberia, and these banks are making millions. That's why prices are so high. Add that to the value added tax in Liberia, the people are suffering. If Cummings was a real leader, moral leader, these are some of the issues he should be trying to solve. He should be trying to get the banks to start to employ Liberians. Cummings was on the board of directors for Chevron. I'm sure he's ashamed to even say that because Chevron doesn't have any kind of good corporate history in Africa. These are people who rob Africa, Nigeria, corrupt. These are people that the SEC don't even sanction for their actions. So if Cummings wants to always join the bad people, you understand, then people like us going to hold him accountable for it. So he needs to resign from the CPP because that's not going anywhere. Clearly, we can see that. And the ANC, it's a question whether the ANC will live, Cummings will survive, or both of them is going to go away and Joshua, you're going to have more opposition. So which one do you choose? So if Cummings is so selfish to the point where if his decision with the CPP is going to tarnish the ANC, is he saying that he has to stay there as a leader, even though the ANC is becoming more and more unpopular by the day? It's his party. He invested millions of dollars in it. Step aside. Look for someone who don't have that stigma. You can still be on the board of it. You can still, encourage it, support it. First of all, there should not have been any political leader who is the candidate. That's a corruption. That's a fraud. All of them say the political leader. Who did they run against in the political? What kind of campaigning did they do? Cummings can't join the same boycott. 3 years before election, you already got your candidate. So what if somebody is better to win George Weah next year? Are you saying that Cummings has to be there and lose? It don't make no sense. It doesn't make any sense for even the Cummings. You want your party to win, even if you're not on the ticket. You want your party to win. Look what happened to Bernie Sanders. Bernie Sanders was very popular in America, all right? But when the Democratic delegates got together and what happened in South Carolina, and they said, look, you don't have a better shot. Joe Biden has a better shot than you. When the analysts and all the people saw that, guess what? Bernie Sanders stepped aside because what? He's a statement and he's there for change.
Yeah,
but if Cummings
remember what Cummings has consistently said, that the kind of impact he wants to make, he can only do this as president.
Well, but you got to be president first before you make the impact. And he ran the last time. He went. Everybody, a tall person want to be tall. Everybody can say, I'm going to the moon. The question is, does it really look likely? This man cannot even win between Borga and Europe. He's struggling with Borga and Europe. Okay, Borga and Europe, they do not respect him. They do not think he should be the leader. Why are you there? If you're the people who are claiming that this man knows, so because they think that every corporate person is a genius. Because there's a lot of stupid corporate people in America. There's a lot of stupid corporate executive vice president and corporate CEOs that knows nothing. They know one thing, maybe to sell a product. So don't take that to mean wisdom. Don't take that as somebody becomes successful in one era. Einstein was one of the most brilliant person with the highest IQ. Does that mean Einstein could be American president? Michael Jordan is very popular. Does that mean he can be president? So there's a lot of professors, there's a lot of smart people who do political science. Why they're not running for office? Okay, so again, that nobody's saying Cummings is not smart. Nobody's saying that he does not have something to control. A stake in Liberia, and he can't make a difference. But the way they're going, George Weah is winning. And that's why people are dying, because there's no voice. When Cummings comes to talk about violence, the people will point their hand right to Nima County. When he comes and talks about corruption, if you go on the side, he talks about corruption. When he said Liberia is a turning point in its life as a nation. The citizen, young and old, wants change. Many people fear that the gravity of the old habits, mediocrity and corruption, will forestall the social and economic development of Liberia, robbing the nation of historic opportunity to emerge as a competent, self-reliant, and prosperous country. It's on his freaking website. It's on his website. That's his issue. You want to do that? How can you have that on your website? And some of the clever what you call political people, they even go tell you, say, take that thing down and at least change it and say collaboration is the way for us to go forward. You're talking about corruption, yeah. Mm-hmm. And you're associating, and you're part of one of the most one of the cartel of corruption. The Unity Party is like a den of corrupt people. I have never seen a party in Liberia. They beat anybody who's corrupt in Liberia government in the Unity Party. For the Amaral Corners, the Crystal, the Barney Shammer, even the Tyler was one point. The Edwin Snow, they're all in Unity Party.
So, Mr. Jones, let me get something clear here. What exactly are you saying Cummings should do? One, are you saying he should get out of the coalition, the CPP, and run on his own as part of ANC, or you saying he should leave politics altogether and go into business, banking, and the rest of it? So clarify for me.
He has to be a leader. And like I said, leader doesn't mean you're the president.
Let's talk about the presidency. Should he run as ANC standard bearer?
In time, any poll you run, any objective poll you run, any good journalist, anybody who has sense, if they look at Cummings' record, not for the first election, but between the first election and now, Cummings cannot even win election in America. If you had an election tomorrow and you put Cummings against any reputable person, the fact is his decision, the executive decisions that he took it's going to haunt him for a while. Because people are going to look at him. You can't just get up one morning and forget about those decisions. Cummings wants us to hold people, leaders accountable. So you make bad decisions, horrible decisions. So do you think now people are just going to say, okay, yeah, let them forget about it? I'm sure Emery, they want to just forget about it. It questions what kind of decision he's likely to make in the future. So what I want him to do, first of all, and that's what, again, in the same article, he needs to do some soul searching on his own. Not listen to these talking heads and these people who want to come into power by any means, because the way they're going, they're not going to get into power.
You're talking about talking heads. They are calling you talking head too, right here.
I am, and they're right to call me talking head. Like I said, I don't get upset when people disagree with me. That's the difference between me and them. I like the debate and the discussion. So what he needs to do is, where is his strength? This particular role as a political leader is not his strength. He needs to focus on the areas that he is popular with Liberian people. Okay, going out and bringing investors into the country, getting into projects, social issues. There's tons of social issues, things like the RIP, like I said.
You don't want Cummings to run for president. That's what you're saying.
Not right now. Right now, you lose.
Okay.
Listen, this is not what I want. If Cummings can go to Kidman County, okay, Bonnie Sherman could win election by 60% in Kidman County. And Cummings and Borga combined cannot convince the people in Kidman County that whoever they go behind, the person should win. What does that tell you? I can care less what Alex Jones thinks. What I'm telling you is he is not popular politically.
All right.
So what he needs to do now is to focus on saving and rebranding, because he's a corporate guy, he knows something about rebranding. Our companies will change their entire name. See Philip Morris, the cigarette company, they took so much heat, they changed their name to Altria. So companies will rebrand themselves just because they know the stigma. Anyway, you mention, by the time you say Cummings, when people think in a mass, they look at urine. So he needs to first get all the public, in a sense. Forget about this December 8 election because it's irrelevant. A few people are going to win. Darius Theron may perhaps win by a close margin. Okay, that's it. The other people, and even if they win, what difference are they going to make in the House of Representatives? All right. The main case here is to pressure the government. That's what the political party should be doing. But you cannot pressure the government when you don't have someone who is credible. And Cummings, Ure, and Barker are not the right people. If they were sensible people and they care for their party and they care for Liberia, they would sit back and say, let's find someone. You see, Unity Party just went on and brought,
Modan.
Why you think that's a sensible move? It's not stigma. There's no stigma on he has a shot. Now, if he goes there and join Barker and join the Amber Corner there, he's done.
All right.
He needs to turn our party around or it will turn him around very quickly. So that's
we have a lot. I will bring one of the ANC guys for you. Joe Moyu has already kind of accepted the challenge. So either we have another Cummings guy having the same opportunity to defend all the things that we have said, or we have a one-on-one debate with someone who is completely opposite of what you're saying.
And that's part of the lack of leadership. Cummings, he's looking for vote. I just want to make this one point.
I want you to wrap this up because I want us to conclude in the next 3 minutes.
I just want to make this last point. Cummings is like a salesperson selling Coca-Cola. You're going out to get people vote. You're going to come and convince me. Stop sending people. Barack Obama used to go to barber shop. He used to go to the the shows, the morning show, the breakfast show. Who is he that he so think that he can't go somewhere where he's not popular? Well, other people show that he's not popular. I went on DJ Finance show and I told her that George Weah administration, the guy incompetent and corrupt people. Did they swallow my head? And we're friends. I went on Yassini's show all the time. I go on Yassini's show. I go on any show you call me to go on. Because my mind would not change, my views will not change unless you can give me evidence what I'm seeing is not correct. So Cummings needs to get, if he wants to be even a leader, not even a political leader, he needs to get out of his cocoon and learn to face the people so people can ask him questions. Just the way Emery can come here on public and ask me questions, we should be able to do that to Cummings on any media. if he wants to be taken seriously. And I think I'll stop there for now.
Yeah, and to your point, we have invited Mr. Cummings several times. He's not been able to come. I'm not saying he's refusing, but probably his schedule has not permitted. We have invited Mr. Ta Wangbe. We have invited Mr. Aloysius Stowe. We have invited, a lot of people in the ANC. I think we've also invited Madam Ambassador Muna Fahad, but we've not been successful. So
we'll be inviting. I will keep coming. Don't worry. I will ask for the time. Since they don't want to.
So Mr. Let's get your final words in the next. This
was great, and I like the conversation. I know I don't come out in this form a lot, but I want to do more of this. So people get ready because we want to talk about the issues in Liberia. It's not a one-day thing where somebody get killed tomorrow, then we rally ourselves. The movement to make Liberia better, we're doing a lot. I mean, I'm working day and night. The people there are working day and night. We want to get the website going. We want to get into projects. We just collaborate. We are collaborating now with schools in Liberia so we can start providing technical service and teaching. We want to start getting pressurizing the banks in Liberia and start letting and going through the financials and start exposing all the corruption. So we're doing a lot already, and we're going to try to do a global live television to talk about back issues all around the world. So I'm going to be a very busy man coming. So you're going to see a lot of me going forward. But thank you
Mr. Jones. Thank you so much. And we'll be glad to have you again to continue this discussion, especially with someone from the ANC or CPP.
They're not going to come. They're not going to come.
We want to thank all our viewers tonight. We want to thank those who commented, those who called in, and all those who contributed. Keep your dial set here at Focus on Liberia. Tomorrow is going to be big. At 4 o'clock, we're going to have the giant Gemma Gina, GGG. He's going to be here to talk about the Liberian family. Then at 7 o'clock, we're going to have a debate, CPP or the opposition versus the ruling position. That will be Mr. Jerome Gamer representing the government, or not the government, the ruling position or the ruling party, and Mr. Anthony Gay representing the opposition. We want to say thank you so much for watching. We're going to now say good night, but we're going to leave you with the song We Are All Liberians. Whether you are a member of the CPP, the ANC, or the CDC, whether you have position or no position, let's remember that we are all Liberians. And when each of us do our little part, we can contribute to make Liberia that glorious land of liberty we all dream of. Until then, from all the crew here at Focus on Liberia, my name is Dennis Jai saying good night and God bless you.
We are Liberians.